All right, so briefly, I'm just going to talk about some aspects of strategies for growth. I'm not going to get really into it. There's a lot going on in the chapter, but there's some really cool concepts here that even those of us who will never be CEOs or manage multi-location, some of you will, but those of us who will never will, it's still good to understand this stuff. All right, so what are we talking about? All right, how do we grow? Well, let's look at it. All right, you can expand, right? Expansion grid. This is a really nice grid here. This expansion grid will show us that we have existing products and we have existing markets. All right, products is what we offer, and existing markets is who we offer it to. All right, so we can do new products or we can do new markets. Now, it's very difficult to break into new markets when we're only in one location, especially if we have that inseparable product, which we've talked about, meaning service, where people have to come to us, right? We can't sell a hotel stay online. I mean, yeah, we can book it online, but they can't stay in this online magic hotel, right? So that's what I mean by that. So, but for sometimes when we expand to new markets, we have to actually expand to another location, right? So, now let's talk about new products. We can have our same location and then try new products, right? So those of you who've ever had a class with me before, or maybe have already said it in this class, but the two ways to increase revenue, not profit, but revenue, the two ways to increase revenue is to sell more to our people, the people that are already our customers, and sell to more customers. All right. So that's basically what I'm talking about. Selling more to our existing people might be through new products. All right. Now we also talk about upselling and stuff like that. But as far as expansion goes, we're bringing in new things that the same folks that we have a good relationship with, now they want to buy more stuff from us. Okay, so that's new products, and then we have new markets, which is finding new people. All right. Now we might do that in our same location through other types of promotions and stuff like that to bring in new people. All right. But very often we'll go to another market and we'll open up another market. Okay. So moving forward. All right. So growth strategies. We could do new products that are very similar to what we have. So you have a product line that makes sense, right? We sell this type of cuisine. We sell this type of uh, uh, hotel room, not a fancy 4-star or whatever. But we expand, whether it's with a new location, a new company, whatever. But we expand uh, in a concentric diversification way. We create something that is a new product that is very similar to our product line and it makes sense, right? And it's technically pretty much the same, meaning that we're not having to buy new equipment or new skills or anything like that. So it's concentric. It makes sense for who we are right now to expand who we are right now without a lot of issues, right? Then we have horizontal, still have that same product line. It makes sense to the customer, but it makes less sense to us behind the scenes because we have to do things completely different. We have to get new equipment, new skill sets, new employees, whatever, right? So that would be horizontal. And then conglomerate, which is something that's completely different. Now, generally, we do that by buying another business. So we're a company and we open a restaurant, but then we might open a retail store or something like that. Now, it does sound a little bizarre, but companies do this all the time. All right, it's ways to bring in more revenue from different markets and different products. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is growth. Right. So let's talk about growth, whether it be let's talk about growth in something called SBUs, which are a special business unit. All right. So what they are is another company, right? We own it, but it's still another company. It has its own competitors, its own operations, everything, right? So there's three types of integrating something like that, right? So there's backwards integration, forward integration, and horizontal. All right. So backwards is acquiring something between, behind, or uh, back from the company. So if we're a restaurant, who's behind us, right? What do we have to do? Who do we deal with to get the products to our customers, right? from behind, right? So that'd be suppliers. So if we buy a supplier, we are getting rid of the middleman, getting rid of the third party, and now we supply ourselves. Now you're going to see this a lot with franchisors doing that, and then they ensure that the franchisees purchase from that and whatever. So that's fine. All right, that's what we're talking about. That's actually very good. All right, we're not giving money to somebody else. There's no markup at that point because we're paying ourselves. All right, so that's good. All right, so forward integration is between the customer and us. All right, well, what's between the customer and us? And sometimes there's nothing. All right, other times there is. All right, let's use the example of like a travel company. All right, you offer travel packages. Now, you could be somebody who just offers travel packages. You go and you find a bus operator, and you find different things, and you put it all together as a package. All right, but then you have to sell it, and generally it's being sold through travel agencies, right? Now, some people come directly, but there's travel agencies between you and the customer. Now, notice I also use the example of the backwards. All right, so the bus company is backwards, and it's behind us, and then the travel agency is between us and the customers. If I own all three, if I have some backwards by owning the bus or bus company, and forward or horizontal, or excuse me, forward by owning the travel agency, again, the profits being made at these two companies all come back to us. All right. All right. So it's a good way to keep costs down too, because you don't have to, the price you pay is a bit, it's more competitive because you're paying yourself, right? So then there's horizontal integration. Horizontal is acquiring competitors. All right, this happens a lot, right? Some people will acquire. You'll hear all the time where sometimes you'll hear about a corporate takeover from one company buying another, right? And you're like, okay, what's that going to be? What's that going to look like? Sometimes the companies remain separate, right? They have the banner of this company and the banner of this company, and they're still separate, but all the money eventually comes to the corporation, right? And that's great. Other times they buy it and dissolve the name, and then just take the physical locations, and they become the name of the original company, or the company that does the buying. All right, that whichever way, sometimes it's better to keep competition. Now, I saw this a lot in smaller southern towns. You would see this a lot with furniture companies. Furniture companies, you go to a market like Jacksonville was notorious for this. Military towns, you're selling a lot of furniture for fun families, and they use it for a year, and then they throw it in the dumpster or whatever. All right, but there's a lot of furniture being bought and sold. All right. I knew somebody who was involved in this, and they would laugh and tell me stories. It's like every single furniture store in that town were owned by the same family. All right, 4 different names, 20 different locations, all owned by the same family. All right, so somebody goes to one and says, "Well, you need to give me 20% off because across town they told me they were going to give me 20, they're going to be 20% cheaper." And the person just looks at him and says, "No." you know. Now that can be questionable when it talks about monopolies and stuff like that. But the bottom line is if you have the competition and somebody says, "I'm not coming to you anymore, I'm going over here," it's still you. So it's a way to expand. All right. So these are just some things to think about. There's a lot more details of this. I oversimplified it. I know some of my analogies and stuff might make other MBAs cringe, but it is just to give you a picture. Okay. So that is it. See you in the next one.